the way this is written, I like it, and I thought she might like it. And maybe I might play some Moon Man later. You know I have a lot of it, so like almost every song. No, I'm not obsessive.
Came to the door with a folder of prints, familiar cliches, traditional motifs. He said, I've got to do the feathers and the wolves for the money. People eat them up, but I've got some here that come from my own life. A rusted car, a school fight, got my girlfriend deposed for 3 days. It's called Patience, after the Guns N' Roses song. And this one is called Want You. Neil Stonechild was frozen on the edge of Saskatoon 12 years ago. Now the body and the case have been exhumed. It's come to light that in the dead of winter nights, cold and remote, the Saskatoon police have taken men on one-way rides. Believe cheap quote, it's happened more than once. We fully admit that. And on behalf of the department, I want to apologize. We must take ownership of the things that have transpired. Neil was 17 in a group home for B&E, was in AA but had been drinking on the night that he and Jason knocked on doors, rang some bells, looking for a friend. The cops were called, the boys split up. 15 minutes later, Jason saw Neil handcuffed and bleeding in the back of the cruiser, screaming, looking scared. Help me, they're gonna kill me. Want you. Neil's body was discovered 5 days later on the outskirts. Jason gave 2 statements to police, but they weren't taken. The death deemed accidental, the official version being that Neil Stonechild was on his way to turning himself into an adult penitentiary at minus 28 degrees with one shoe. Inquiry was launched 12 years later after Rodney Naismith froze to death, and Lawrence Wegner froze to death, and Lloyd Dusty Horn froze to death, and Darrell Knight almost did but lived to prove abduction and abandonment were common practice. Still, the original case files concerning Neil were lost in renovations. RCMP investigations failed to find evidence for prosecution, so in a cloud of suspicion, the hearings start October. Neil's mother just wants closure. Want you. Stonechild was a painter and a wrestler, and I think he would have liked this one. Must have lost it running. Should have tied the laces. It symbolizes something. Mistakes, empty spaces, getting chased. Want you. Want you. Want you.
Alright, that's a little bit depressing. So he says one shoe to the last 20 seconds. Throughout the last 20 seconds. I think this is a good song to show the abuse by the police on different minorities. In this case, Native Americans in Canada. So I just wanted to play that for Desert because I thought she might enjoy the message, or maybe that sounds bad. I thought she'd like the song, and that an important social message was being presented in such a melodic way. So, sorry, I was laughing. I have one more song I wanted to play for Rose. Well, hell, I can't be this
I made
Whoops.
a lot of money. I made
This is Richard Nixon.
$250,000 from a book. In the practice of law, and I'm not claiming I was worth it, but apparently former vice presidents or presidents are worth a great deal to law firms, and I did work pretty hard. But also in that period, I earned between $100,000 and $250,000 every year. So that when I, in 1968, decided to become a candidate for president, I decided to clean the decks. I sold all my stock for $300,000. I sold my apartment in New York for $300,000. I'm using rough figures here. And I had $100,000 coming to me from the law firm. And so that's where the money came from. I made my mistakes. But in all of my years of public life, I have never profited from public service. I've earned every cent. And I think, too, that I can say that I welcome this kind of examination because people have got to know whether or not their president's a crook. Well, I'm not a crook. I've earned everything I've got.
He earned everything he got, karma included. I think people were too hard on Nixon. I think he was a good president. You know, he opened the doors to China after how many centuries? Wow. Now, my topic tonight was this Rand character. And I do have a clip. I can't talk. I do have a clip on her thoughts on Reagan, religion, and abortion. Or I can play songs you guys like different genre that I listen to you guys. I realize what you like. Would you rather have that or you want to hear Rand on Reagan, religion? I'm going to play that clip. You put down like what type of songs you're wanting to hear tonight. Anger songs. Is it the Moon Man songs? Is it jazz? Is it classical Hungarian Rhapsody #2? Could it be military taps? Let me know what you're into listening to tonight. But this is that awful Rand character on Reagan, religion, and abortion. So when you hear that name Rand, you won't just like, oh yeah, sure. And this is the offer. Ayn Rand. It's a weird name. It's not playing. What the hell, Rand?
What do I think of President Reagan? The best answer to give would be, but I don't think of him. And the more I see, the less I think. I did not vote for him, nor for anyone else. And events seem to justify me. The appalling disgrace of his administration is his connection with the so-called moral majority and sundry other severe religionists. Thank you. Who are struggling, apparently with his approval, to take us back to the Middle Ages via the unconstitutional union of religion and politics. The threat to the future of capitalism is the fact that Reagan might fail so badly that he will become another ghost like Herbert Hoover, to be invoked as an example of capitalism's failure.
Capitalism was her religion, by the way.
Observe Reagan's futile attempts to arouse the country by some sort of inspirational appeal. He is right in thinking that the country needs an inspirational element, but he will not find it in the God, family, tradition swamp. The greatest inspirational leadership this country could ever find rests in the hands of the most typically American group, the businessmen. But they could provide it only if they acquired philosophical self-defense and self-esteem.
The next question is, please clarify your comment on the moral majority. I do not understand your position.
I do not understand your question. If you're here at all, you must have come because you know something about me. And if you know something about me, you know that I'm an advocate of reason, that I am not a supporter of religion, and that I despise anyone who tries to impose his religious ideas by force on other people. That is what the moral majority is trying.
Next question is, how specifically is Reagan's conservative, pro-capitalist government helping destroy capitalism to try to stay in power?
To do what?
To try to stay in power.
Oh. For one thing, you cannot stand in power today nor do anything politically without a well-formulated, consistent political philosophy, because it is by philosophical means that the collectivists have come to power, and you can't defeat them except by philosophical means. And if you listen to just one of Reagan's...
You know, I forgot. This woman had such a big chimp out on Phil Donahue. See, he was before us, before the Spreaker people, before we had the great chimp outs of 2015. There was Ayn Rand on Phil Donahue. You have to listen to this. And tell me if this reminds you of Spreaker, especially Mr. Solution.
No, there isn't
no
such a
solution.
thing as a soul or a mind. There's only your body. It's materialism. They believe that you're not a man, but a collection of atoms.
And give that body to the state for the collective effort of the...
That's right. For the good of the whole and sacrifice to the state. And whoever says it is or wants to be the state.
Ayn Rand will be back in a moment.
Music brought by Phil Donahue. This is an epic
I was
chimp
interested
out.
in your remarks on special education, and particularly on
comes.
gifted education. We in the public schools can identify gifted children.
After this
we can
question.
categorize their strengths and their needs, but we don't have the dollars to do what needs to be done. What, in your opinion, is our society's responsibility to these children who will be our leaders?
To begin with, I don't believe that society has any responsibility towards anyone. Neither the future leaders nor the future victims. Society has nothing to do, properly speaking, with the life of any one person except to keep out of his way and give him a chance. In a proper, that is totally free society, nothing will be done for the gifted except voluntarily. If his parents are poor, and the general trend of the society is not towards helping the ungifted, it's not altruistic, then private individuals and free institutions will help him if his parents are poor. But in a free society, predominantly, all that the gifted child needs is some decent, rational education instead of the boredom that makes them give up school today, because a lot of the gifted children, you know, are drop out because they're bored in a class devised for less gifted children. And just leave them alone and preach the idea that human ability is a value.
When you say that society has no responsibility here, I think individuals have a responsibility to themselves. Is that it?
I don't like the word responsibility involved here.
All right, well, what should we say then? Help me. What do I... Do what I wish to do. Is that your point? That the more...
No. Do what I rationally think is right, according to the right morality. And help others if you can, but not as a primary obligation. And now, in regard to society, there is no such thing as society, you know. It's all of us. Now, how can we have obligations which we didn't undertake? See, the parents of a child would have obligations for him up to a certain age, since they brought him into the world, but they can't do what is impossible to them. That doesn't mean that they can at any moment throw the burden on the rest of us. We're society, everybody's society, and we can't have unearned obligations and unchosen obligations.
My husband and I got married because of you. I just wanted you to know that. We met and we're the only two people we could find that liked your works and gravitated